welcome to Poland.
Good evening, thanks a lot.
I hope that you had a really great time with the instructors over here.
Yes.
And it was a good time for you, not only like...
Always. I'm always working most of the time, but here and there a restaurant or...
So you had your free time, just to go around
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Not too much. You should come next time for longer. Okay, there are plenty of questions we have here. One of them is, what's your personal life philosophy? Do you have something like this? Or how this, let's say, connection between Krav Maga and your everyday life, how it works?
Yes.
Tell me about yourself a little bit.
So when I think about my regular life, it's very unregular compared to normal people, because I fly about 200 days a year to teach all over the world. So in that sense, the no routine of mine is fly, land, maybe spend the night, start teaching. Sometimes I land and start teaching.
Okay.
So my routine when I'm teaching is I wake up in the morning, drink quite much water, make some bit of physical meditation, focusing exercises, concentration exercises, and then if I'm not fasting, so I eat and I start the day as usual. So during the day I'm training reasonably well. I've got good fitness in teaching 8 hours a day. I can teach quite okay in that sense, with the stamina of teaching. And then if I'm not in the teaching outside Israel, so my regular routine in Israel is wake up at around 6 o'clock, do some focusing, concentration exercises a little bit, maybe a little bit more if I've got the time. Then I go, we've got 2 dogs, I have to walk with them, so they take me to a walk. I feed the cats, I do all these home things, and I try to train in the morning. So I do a few rounds of physical, technical, tactical moves, some mobility, flexibility, walking on the bag, on the heavy bag, do some visualization with techniques. For example, I do a technique against a stick or a knife and I hit the bag. I use few bags, I hit one another, so like multiple opponents. So I'm trying to visualize things as incidents and act accordingly. And I do few rounds like this. So let's say 1 round on working on the bags, and 1 round of power drills, and 1 round of mobility and stretching. And I do, 15 rounds, something between 8 to 15 rounds usually. And I'm lucky enough to have a small pool at home, so I'm swimming sometimes. I'm trying to swim, especially after the training. So this is my routine, and then a lot of the time I'm going to the office, and I've got so much things to do in the sense of planning and troubleshooting and writing materials and planning different courses.
You running Krav Maga Global?
No, I'm not running Krav Maga Global.
Or what you do?
We have an office.
You have an office
running. We have a CEO.
Okay.
We have personnel in the office that are doing stuff, and of course, in every branch we have the director of the branch, which they are doing the planning together with the office. So I'm doing more.
So you work like related to the training things.
To the training and to setting the direction, also the direction of the organization. But the daily planning and the daily managing, I'm not doing this.
Okay. Next question was, could you tell like 3 basic principles of Krav Maga? Something like which might be, according to you, essential, especially for those just like being interested into the martial arts.
Yes.
Or they about just to pick it up, or maybe looking for something. 3 important things like bullet points from them.
Yes. So, according to the founder, he set the way. And so Imi said, first rule is don't get hurt. So the idea is that you will do your best in training and obviously outside, not to get hurt. So it's about self-defense, it's about defending others, it's about defending your country, about the war, about fighting in combat. In any case, whatever we are doing, the first rule is do your best not to get hurt. First rule. He had another saying, which I really appreciate, and that is, be so good you don't have to kill. Meaning, do the right thing in the right place and time. Don't do too much, the correct use of force. Because if you do too much, you may find yourself in jail, obviously. You do too little, you may get hurt or somebody else will get hurt. So that is this. And then I can add to it, to these things, is you need to win in reality, and then the opponent, the enemy, the aggressor needs to lose. It can be that he's losing only mentally, but sometimes it's also physically. Sometimes I win by defending and running fast away because it's self-defense. I won by self-preservation. But in reality, it's win-lose. In training, it's win-win. So when you're training, the idea is to win when you're training by learning and getting better. That's your winning. Not that you will hurt your partner, that you will be doing the best technique, that you'll be the best attacker for your partner. So he wins by learning, getting better, improving himself or herself. And one more rule for me, which is a way of, in the Krav Maga, is the way of teaching the system. So when we talk about teaching the system, you start from very defined technique, understand the principles, work with variations, put load on the trainee, so faster attacker, stronger attacker, multiple opponents, more decisions. And when you're talking about a load, it can be by depriving you from some of your resources. For example, if you're limited in motion, or if your eyes are closed, or if it's dark situation. So the idea is to understand the techniques, the principles, the variations, and doing everything with more and more load. So practically you are very much prepared for reality.
So I would say the Krav Maga is more like, probably like everything people learn in life. It's about rewiring the brain.
Definitely,
actually.
It's about rewiring the brain.
Yes.
It's about learning how to make the correct decision in the right place and time, especially under stress.
Yeah, I've been witnessing today the training when you activated one of the attendees and another one, and just the third person was just delivering the punch.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is fantastic. You see how slow our brain works and how much of training it requires in order to make it faster.
And mass functioning.
And I was absolutely amazed how you're trying to push so gently those people there. It was like not only like in terms of physical push, but also in terms of mental push.
Yeah.
And question to you, because you reached out to Imi, what kind of influence Imi had on you?
Yeah.
How he rewired your brain, basically.
Yeah. So we had interesting relations. First of all, when I started with him, I was about 15. I trained with him 24 years. So I was his closest assistant. I was closest assistant to him, close to 20 years. I would spend many hours with him, many times at home with him, many times sitting outside in the city in a coffee shop or in a restaurant and eating and talking 2-3 hours.
Not only like in a relationship, like a working relationship, it was like more close friendship.
Yes, it was close friendship on one hand. It was, by definition of his family, I was like a son to him. He was the age of my grandparents. So he was sort of, first of all, he was my teacher, obviously. And then from there, the relations became more like friends or like family. So this is something that was developed with time. We flew abroad several times together. I was with him a lot. Most of the time we were talking about the profession, preparing materials, discussing materials. I made a very strong revolutions in the system, and because I was so close to him, I could have done this revolution, this changing, turning Krav Maga into a system. And for me, I got from him his way of thinking. So that's what made me good in Krav Maga, I understood his way of thinking about the system. So I just follow the system. I try to go into his shoes, to enter his shoes.
But on the other hand, you probably, because it's impossible like to sit in someone else's brain, right? And years after, you cannot just mimic someone, right?
Yes, it's not about mimicking. It's about really mimicking. Understanding the spirit.
Yeah, but
getting
also
inside
bringing
the spirit.
something personal. So the question was, what personal of your input, what you did to Krav Maga system, what you brought into.
Yes.
Could you name a couple of things?
Yeah, so first of all, to make it clear, he made the techniques. He showed the way. He was a walking system, but he didn't teach a system. He was teaching techniques. But in his techniques, he showed all the elements. My job was to decipher him. So my contribution was, first of all, to make it a technical system and then a tactical system, to connect all the parts of the system, to show the principles. And except of this, to use his principles and his techniques to the next phase, and that is to solve different problems that we didn't have initially. For example, I put in the system defending knife threats, not only knife attacks, for example, or defending the long gun threats. We didn't have it in his time initially. To have all the subject of the technique, principle, variations, to have the variations. And from the variations, to solve new problems, to be able to solve new problems. Also, I built all the section of VIP protection in the system and all the section of combat and fighting tactics, so which is like a subsystems inside the Krav Maga. So this was my contribution.
Okay, that's awesome. So you're working not only with civilians like we've seen today.
Yes.
We're probably also delivering some training to, I don't know, special forces.
Yes.
So have you worked with IDF, for example?
Yes. So I served in the IDF as a communication instructor mainly and commander. That's the first 3 years. Then another 5 years or so, I was in the reserves in the same unit that was dealing with the communication that will come to the generals.
So maybe we explain to people here, because probably they don't know what this is all about. So basically every male in Israel goes for 3 years to service in the army, right?
Yes.
And then later on,
and then girls 2 years.
Girls 2 years, and then later on,
go to the reserve.
You go to the reserve, and every year you have at least some short reunion or something like that.
Yes. So you are in the reserves, depending on your unit, etc. You may serve something between a week to 3-4 weeks a year. So this was my first years, and then I went to the engineering school. So by education, I'm electrical engineer. When I finished engineering, the first school, the university, I decided I don't want to go and work. I would like to go to my master degree in engineering. So I had a small position in the university, but I started working with special forces. So it was undercover anti-terror group. That was practically the security force, the undercover force that is controlling some airports in Israel, some passages to the neighboring countries. So quite high level of security unit. Not so much as teamwork, but like really very high level lone fighters, like operators that have to operate by themselves, not to be dependent on other people. And when I started to work with them in the IDF, I also moved to work with the elite of the paratroopers. The paratroopers have different brigades and different units, and so this was the reconnaissance of the paratroopers. So I worked with them for about 20 years.
Oh.
So this is my Israeli side, and except of this, I started teaching outside Israel police and military since the 80s. I put Krav Maga in the US for police and SWAT teams. And so I did the first courses and the first job and showed the American instructors what to do, at least some of the things I showed them. And then later in the 90s, I worked with different units in Europe and South America and Australia.
So basically that was the time, it's like between 80s and 90s when you started to travel and share your knowledge and share your expertise with other countries and so.
And also in the 2000s. Yes.
Yeah, of course, because as I can see, it's ongoing process. You never stop.
Yes.
Well, so it gets me to the point, but I need to ask you one thing about the concentration, about the mental approach. What is this all about? So basically, you know, the thing is, people see often Krav Maga as something like self-defensive, let's say, system, or skill, put it that way, or you can say that this is the battle through the touch, in other ways, right? So, but it should go in a pair in order not to turn someone into living a weapon. It should go in the pair with some mental training. So people should be safe by themselves.
Correct.
So how it works?
Okay. So when we think about what we teach and how we teach, so what we teach is in 4 directions: physical, technical, tactical, and mental. And mental is the driver in the car. So that's my car. So I can be a Lamborghini, and if the driver is an idiot, what will happen? Okay. So I would like to have the best car, obviously. I would have to have the car that is the fastest, the one that takes the curves the best way, that can brake very well, but who's holding the wheel and who's making the decision? So in that sense, we are always working a lot on the driver. The driver needs to make decisions. The driver needs to function under stress. The driver needs to think correctly. And many times it is stress but not dangerous. For instance, somebody is shouting at you, okay? Or the boss is calling you. Or there's a lot of emails and telephone calls and messages to answer. You're getting stressed, but without understanding what stress is, without understanding what is the phenomena that happens and what the reactions of body to stress, then and without training how to deal with the stress and how to deal with the information and how to transform from a relaxed person into a fighting machine, or from a relaxed person to continue to be relaxed because there's no need to fight. Because it's only stress that is causing you and coming from stressors that are not dangerous ones, just overflow of information, and you're getting stressed because you don't have enough resources to deal with this stress. So, or to deal with these missions. So the need and the idea of training the driver, training the mind, so you'll be able to quiet the mind, you'll be able to make the decision, you would have problematic emotions and feelings like fear and anxiety and hate and frustration and things like this that are depleting you from your energy. So our training is to deal with these things. By the way, we have a great program for managers because they have so much stress in their lives, they are killing themselves in their positions and at work because of this. So we have programs that are taking Krav Maga as a tool to educate them better how to deal with a regular life, which is not a violent one.
And this is exactly what my next question was about. Yes. Because as I can see, this is not only about the fight, it's
Correct.
not about the technique, it also has influence and impact to the real everyday life of the people.
Everyday life of a regular person.
But see, this is something really doesn't click in my head. I mean, you came to this world of Krav Maga through your let's say friend and teacher, and that was a really personal connection. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you introduced the system.
Yes.
You created some kind of a construct. Does it affect let's say personal side between you as a trainer and your trainees? Mm-hmm. Perhaps those you probably started teaching like 20 years ago, you know all the names, you know all about them and so on. So, but now 20 years after, can you tell, okay, I know this guy, or you can just simply take a look on the class, say, okay, this is the problematic type, this is a good type, this is a good warrior, this guy shouldn't be kicked out of the door. So do you have this kind of feeling it goes less personal right now, and can you assess easily people?
Okay, so I have no pretension to be able to know people, but those who have been with me for many years, and we have very personal relations, very close relations. Here in Poland also we have people that have been with me more than 15 years. And in Israel, obviously, people with me 30 years or so. So this is something that has been going with the years, and the personal relations between the people, similar to what I had with my teacher, obviously. So this is something that I have with the people who have been training with me and working with me all these years. By the way, in Europe, there are people who have been with me more than 20 years. When I go to a group now, and today I was teaching, I don't know, in a seminar, 130 people or so, something like that, maybe 100 students and 30, 40 instructors, something like this. I may remember one or two, a few of them from the previous seminars, but I don't know them, of
Obviously,
course.
you cannot establish the connection.
Exactly. This is a mess. And of course they treat me as a teacher, they treat me as a celebrity, but I try to be humble as much as I can and not to behave like with a high nose, and I know my place, and especially the fighters, they should always know the place, because today you can punch and tomorrow you're being punched. Today you are a big person and somebody can stab your ass with a needle from behind in the middle of the street or in a bus, and you are dead because of...
All hot air will just go and...
Yes. Or you get some hepatitis B. So we know that our place on earth is short. Time on earth is short. And you're trying to do the best with what you have, and you try to progress the highest level possible and to assist as many people as you can to progress in their way. And that's my way. My way is to assist people to become better and stronger in what they do, and have better lives. That's what I'm trying. Safer lives, better lives. If we talk about instructors, so they will be able to teach better, educate other people better, make a living with Krav Maga if they choose. So this is my mission, to spread the knowledge, to spread the system, to support the instructors, to support the students, to take them to the highest level possible, but not only in the fighting skills and the self-defense skills, but also with the mental aspects and with all aspects of life. If you're controlling the mind, you can control your life or progress in your life much better. That's really the mission.
Understood. So since the structure of Krav Maga Global is kind of hierarchical, yes, and people all around the world are spread, they kind of directors of the particular branches, yes, and here and there. So basically it means there's a structure with a clear dependence, let's say. So, and how can people just looking for a particular school, how can they tell, okay, I should go to this school, that's another school? Does it make sense? I mean, if you can name any of the reasons why they should go for Krav Maga Global, or branches of Krav Maga Global. Yes. So how to tell? Yes. This hierarchical dependence is the one of them, or the criteria? So you mean the structure?
Yes, the one thing is obviously the connection with the source. Where the Krav Maga came from, who was carrying it, that's one thing. The issue is that when you look at Krav Maga, there were people that originally learned from Imi and went away quite early, let's say, or were not updated, and they are not in the system the way it should be. So there will be a situation that you have people who are legitimate in Krav Maga, but they are not high level and they don't know the Krav Maga of today, which has progressed. Would you like to use a telephone, the original telephone? The one that was with the two sections and the rope, and that you cannot almost hear anything, and you have to do a few times to call the operator. The Ford T model, or would you like to use a BMW M5? Okay, what would you like to use, the T model or the M5? Would you like to use? So we understand that there's progression, and the idea is to go to the source, to the progressing source. We say that we are the progressing source. Maybe some other people will say that they are the same, true or not. Usually not. But how can a person know? So you go to buy a new car. How would you know what good or bad car you're going to buy? You need to hear about what others are saying. You can go into the car and it looks nice and you have to try it. You have to drive it. You have to take it to the extreme a little bit. Because to drive 50 kilometers per hour in the city,
it says nothing.
It says nothing. No, all the cars can do it almost today with quite okay. So to buy a car for 200,000 euros or 20,000 euros, you're still getting wheels. You know what? You can also take a bicycle. And you can do like this pedal with your bicycle, which also has a benefit. But can you cross the country or go from Warsaw to London or to Paris with a bicycle? Yes, you can. So with Krav Maga, it's a little bit more difficult even. Why? Because if you're going to a place, it's a fake place, you think that you are getting something, maybe you're getting something very bad. So it's good to have something that is monitoring, something that has relation with the source, something that is knowledge. There's a knowledge that is flowing. There's a certain standard that it's there. Not every instructor is an expert. Not every instructor is a master. It's obviously not. But they are on the path. We are guaranteeing that if you go to one of our instructors, it's a certain standard and up. It is not yet, some instructors are not yet experts, but as a beginner, do you need an expert? You don't need an expert as a beginner. You need a good instructor that will teach you very well, and while you're progressing, the instructor will also progress. So, the fake people on one hand or the fake instructors on one hand, it's a compliment. People are imitating us, so it's compliment. This means that we are good. If we were bad, nobody would imitate us. But on the other hand, it's bad because they can make bad name, because people have seen, they call themselves, oh, we have been doing Krav Maga, and they are not been doing Krav Maga. They've been teaching them bullshit. So that's the idea. You have to try it. You have to understand it. And most people, they don't want to try. They don't want to experiment. They don't want to invest. Why? Because most people don't really need Krav Maga as a means of survival. I mean, here you live in Europe. How much pogroms do you have in Europe?
Oh, we had a lot. We have a long history of pogroms, actually.
Exactly. But it was in the past.
Yeah, right.
These days, so we need the Krav Maga for the pogroms of the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century. This is true. We didn't have it back then. We only have it now.
Yeah. And last question, last but not least, a question from the list.
Yes.
So since you're traveling, next destination, where you go?
South America.
South America? Chile?
No,
Mexico?
I will be in Argentina.
Argentina.
In Brazil.
Oh.
And Uruguay. This for these three countries. Mainly I'll be in Argentina. With seminars, working with the instructors, working with the experts, like an expert camp I need to do there. That's really the idea of August. But this July, I only go to Poland. It's so easy life in July. August, it's a bit more difficult, but then I start flying all over. So now until the end of the year, I've got a lot of flights.
Okay, so now you're basically going back to Israel.
Yes, I'm going back to Israel for about 2 weeks. Yes.
And you're staying in Tel Aviv?
My home is in a city or a town named Kadima.
Okay.
It's close to Netanya.
Okay. So north from Tel Aviv.
About 30 kilometers north to Tel Aviv we are living. Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Yes, definitely. And definitely I can tell you that what you know about Israel from the media, it's definitely not correct. So, Israel is being...
You always have a choice. You can go, we're starting out of topic conversation. Yes. We also have to show there's a lot of resources over the internet, like Jerusalem Post at least,
yes,
or something. Yeah, so if you want to know,
yes, you can.
You can, yeah. But that's something out of the topic. Probably going to cut it out, but it's interesting conversation anyway. You know the story and the relationship between Jews and Polish people. It's complicated. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
It's complicated. Yeah. Have you ever encountered the situation like somebody coming to your class without being aware that this martial art coming from Israel?
Yes.
Happened that to you? And they say, "Oh crap, this is Israeli. I'm not going here."
No, we didn't have something like this. No.
Okay.
No. Maybe it happened, but I don't know about it.
Yeah. Nobody told you.
But people are coming because of the name of Israel also. You know, very efficient system, very efficient army, the name that we have, the perception about the Israeli army in the media and in the world. So yes, Krav Maga came from the Israeli army. Yes. It was developed, born in the Israeli army. Yes, went to the civil life in '64. I started training in '74. And the beginning of the roots of the system is the roots of the founder. And he came from Bratislava. He was fighting fascists on one side. And on the other side, he was a sportsman, an excellent boxer and a wrestler. He was a member of the Slovakian wrestling team for 10 years. A lot of gold medals.
I think that not many people know that.
Yes. And he was also a champion in gymnastics. So he was really very talented. And his other side is fighting the fascists. And on a daily basis, every day there were fights, fist fights. Yes? And sometimes knife or something like this. And the last thing is his father was a very famous figure in Bratislava. He was chief of detectives. He caught the biggest number of hard criminals. His father, Samuel Lichtenfeld. And Samuel was influencing Imi, the founder, very much. So this is the roots of the system.
Getting back maybe from a question out of the list, but I think this could be a really nice closure of our conversation. So Krav Maga is for everyone?
Obviously. Krav Maga is for everybody. We have the training methods, the techniques that suit every person. Now, but we must be realistic. If you think that an 8-year-old kid can defend himself against a large, aggressive man, how can this be? But if you
see, the people live in the imagination they have from kung fu movies, you know.
Yes. Yes, from the Marvel movies. Yes.
Also, they have the hammer and believe that there is magic also.
Yeah. So when you think about this, we will teach the kid how to avoid the danger, how to deal with other bullies, with small kids that are similar to his size. Yes, but what are the risks that the kid is facing? So we are teaching the kid not to go and take things from a stranger, okay? And if somebody grabs him, how to make a release. Yes, this is logical. How to be aware of dangers. Yes. If you think that a woman of 55 kilos can win against a Muay Thai boxer who is 75 kilos, how can this be? This is not possible.
But that's basically physics.
Yes, but this is the risk that she's facing. Is a common woman is going to face a Muay Thai boxer? Where this happens? It doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it's 1 of a million. Most of the time, the women will face different harassments, different stalking, some sort of robbery, some sort of attack that can be a slap or a grab. And with this, she can deal with. She can prevent it. She will understand the danger. She will avoid the conflict. This is first of all, she'll be sensitive enough to understand what's facing her. So, and an elderly person, if somebody is going to attack 5 people with baseball bats will attack an elderly person on a regular basis, definitely no, that's not what these people are facing. So we need to understand what is the danger, what the risk analysis. Then we give them the ideas and the understanding of how to avoid, prevent, or first of all, identify, understand the danger, that was the situations. Then avoid it, prevent it, de-escalate it. And if not able, then they will have to defend, to counterattack, to move away from danger zone. Of course, we are teaching them, but we must be realistic that all of these figures, or all of these sections of people need to have the understanding of what to do in whatever situation. And definitely what we are teaching them is what's suitable for them in the sense of what they can do and against what they need to do. That's the idea.
So everybody welcome to Krav Maga.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Me and from KMG, from the whole organization. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.